Real Talk English.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Real Talk English. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Mike. Today we're diving into a topic that affects literally every area of our lives. Whether you're trying to learn a language, get fit, advance in your career, or even just clean your apartment. We're talking about discipline versus motivation. Which one wins?
Oh, I'm so pumped for this topic. You know, I was actually thinking about this yesterday when I was supposed to be working on my portfolio for this art program application. I had been so excited about it for weeks, and then suddenly, as the deadline approached, I just lost all motivation. That's exactly the problem, isn't it? Motivation feels so fickle sometimes. It's there one minute and gone the next. Totally. But before we dive deeper, let's break down what motivation actually is. Psychologists define motivation as the desire or impulse to start and continue an action.
Right? It's basically the energy that gets us moving. And understanding where this drive comes from is crucial, especially when it comes to maintaining it.
Exactly. And motivation typically falls into two categories: intrinsic and extrinsic.
Intrinsic motivation is when you do something because the activity itself is rewarding. Like when you play video games just because it's fun, or when you paint because you love the process, not because you want to sell your artwork or impress someone.
While extrinsic motivation is when you do something as a means to an end. Like going to the dentist. Not many people find that fun, but we're motivated by the goal of having healthy teeth.
Or working overtime to get a bonus, or training for months to win a competition.
What's interesting is that research from 2017 showed that people who focused on external rewards for their New Year's resolutions didn't maintain their initial enthusiasm for long.
That makes sense. I think we've all experienced that quick burst of excitement when we start something new, but then it fades over time. So, is that where discipline comes in?
Absolutely. While motivation gets you started, discipline keeps you going. Think of discipline as the skill that helps you take consistent action, regardless of how you feel on any given day.
I read somewhere that the most successful people actually use a combination of discipline and intrinsic motivation to achieve their goals. It's not one versus the other, it's both working together.
That's a really good point. Recent research suggests it can take anywhere between 18 to 264 days to form a new habit and make a behavior automatic. That's a potentially long time to rely solely on motivation.
264 days? That's almost 9 months. I don't think I've ever felt motivated about anything for 9 straight months.
Exactly. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They wait to feel motivated before taking action, but that's backward. Often, taking action creates motivation, not the other way around.
It's like exercise. Sometimes I really don't feel like going to the gym, but I've built this discipline where I just go anyway. And guess what? After about 10 minutes, I usually start enjoying it.
That's the perfect example. The discipline got you there, and then the intrinsic motivation kicked in because the activity started making you feel good.
Let's dig deeper into how discipline actually works. Studies have shown that people with good self-discipline don't necessarily have superhuman willpower. Instead, they structure their lives to avoid having to make willpower-based decisions in the first place.
That's fascinating. So it's more about creating systems and habits rather than constantly fighting against your desires?
Exactly. If you want to eat healthier, don't keep junk food in the house. If you want to exercise in the morning, put your workout clothes next to your bed the night before. You're essentially making it easier to do the right thing.
I love that. It reminds me of something interesting from the research. There's this phenomenon called the effect of excessive justification. Basically, having too many different motivators can actually be counterproductive.
How so?
Well, a study with military academy cadets found that those who were driven by both internal factors, like self-improvement, and external factors, like getting a good job, were actually less motivated overall than those driven by just one factor.
That's counterintuitive. You'd think more reasons to do something would be better, not worse.
Right? Psychologists suggest that additional external motivators can complicate things when you already have an internal drive to do something. But this only creates problems when you already find the task motivating. If you're facing something boring or tedious, external rewards can actually help.
So let's sum this up with some practical advice. How can our listeners actually apply this understanding of motivation and discipline to their daily lives?
Great question. First, I think it's important to understand that motivation will fluctuate. That's normal, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. Instead, focus on building systems and habits that make it easier to stay consistent.
Absolutely. And when choosing which habits to implement, try to find ways to make the activities enjoyable. If your goal is to exercise more, pick a form of exercise you actually like rather than one you think you should do.
Yes, and start small. It's better to meditate for 5 minutes every day than to try for an hour and give up after a week. Remember, research suggests it takes around 2 months for a behavior to become automatic, so give yourself time.
I think it's also important to recognize that sometimes, particularly for tedious tasks, it's okay to use external rewards. Promise yourself a little treat or break after completing a difficult task.
And remember that the combination of discipline and intrinsic motivation is the winning formula. Discipline helps you form the habit, but finding enjoyment in the process is what makes it sustainable long-term.
Exactly. Think of discipline as the bridge that carries you over the motivation dips, because those dips will come, guaranteed.
So true. And one last thought. Sometimes we overthink this whole process. Just taking that first small step, even when you don't feel like it, can be incredibly powerful. As the saying goes, motion before emotion.
I love that. Motion before emotion. That might be my new mantra.
It's a good one. Well, I hope our listeners found this helpful. Remember, both discipline and motivation have their place. It's not about which one wins, but rather how they work together.
Absolutely. And if you're currently struggling with motivation for something important, try shifting your focus to building consistent habits rather than waiting for inspiration to strike.
Great advice, Mike.
Well, that's all for today's episode of Real Talk English. If you enjoyed this discussion, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need this reminder.
And let us know in the comments. Are you more of a motivation person or a discipline person? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Until next time.